So just because you have red hair does not mean that you can't do a glam bridal look. So I want to teach you how to do red-headed focused makeup, but make it glam. Because a lot of redheads have had their makeup done and then they didn't like it and they're really afraid of makeup. So I want to show you the right colors to use and how to make it a really pretty look. Okay, so we're going to start out with my simple skin prep, which is the Embryo Elise. I'm going to put this on first. And then right over top, I am going to do a glow enhancer. So you don't always need to do a glow enhancer, but I personally love to do it. This one is a Warm Glow from Say. I also have the Lumi Glow Lotion. So it's kind of whatever you want to look, but they kind of all work around the same, I'd say. Like the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter. So I'm going to go in with the Embryo Elise first. Same with the e.l.f. Halo Glow. I mean, I find it works pretty much just the same as the Flawless Filter from Charlotte Tilbury, but I do keep the Charlotte Tilbury in my kit because it's, you know, I call myself a luxury makeup artist, so I want to make sure I have really nice products. Even though the same product that's a little bit cheaper could do the same thing, I just like to use more expensive products because I do charge a lot. Turn this way, so I want to make sure that they see that they're getting value. So the Say, same sort of thing. It works pretty much the same as the Lumi Glow Lotion from L'Oreal, but if I have the option, I will use the Say first. So I'm going in with the Say now. And with the skin prep, again, keeping it really simple. You don't need a serum, no vitamin C, niacinamide, any of that stuff underneath the bridal makeup because we just want a really simple skin prep. We don't want anything to interfere with the, how pretty that is, with the foundation. So I keep things really simple. Basically, if my client was really oily, I would use a mattifying primer. I have the one from Huda right now in my kit, but every single other person pretty much gets this prep. The Embryo Elise, and then the moms, I pretty much stop there. And then anyone else gets a glow enhancer as well, usually. Not every single time, but sometimes I forget the glow enhancer. So you can just kind of turn straight on. So you see how nice and dewy her skin looks. It's when I rub my finger over it, it's really nice and slimy. When I go to put on the foundation, I don't want this to be dry. I still want that really nice. My finger can glide over her skin really easily. So we want slimy skin. But I am going to give this, well, I'm going to do her eyebrows and her eyes, but if I wasn't, I would give it maybe 3 or 4 minutes just to really kind of soak in, and so I'm not putting the foundation right over top. Now with her, I'm going to use a more medium brown because her hair it's red, but it's still a little bit on the darker side at the root. So this one is medium brown. These are the Sephora Collection brows. So if this gets too dark, I'll go in with taupe. A lot of times with redheads, if they're more on the fair side of a redhead and they don't have dark brows, I'll use the color taupe. Now she has really perfect eyebrows. So we don't need to do a lot. And again, your clients that, you know, already have really nice eyebrows like this, or even if their eyebrows need a little bit of help, they sometimes don't want that. So just be really soft and simple with your brows. We don't want to get these too dark. Too dark and bulky, it's not going to be good. So we're just going to go in with a few little flicks, kind of brush them up, and then brush them down a little bit at the top. But if she's not missing big pieces to her eyebrows, I'm going to keep things very, very simple. So just kind of like that. And then once I get all of her makeup on, I can always go back. But usually the clients that don't like something, it's their eyebrows. So I'm just doing little flicks all the way through, just filling in a little gap, any of the little gaps. And I also am not pushing very hard. So I'm just doing a little tap, very light. So kind of brushing them up and then off to the side a bit. Now I want her eyebrows to always start kind of right here, but I feel like hers are in a pretty good position right here and then end at the end of the eye. So that she's already got that. So my job is easy. I don't have to do much. So now we're going to go in with some concealer. I'm going to use Cloud, the Too Faced Born This Way. And I'm going to pick this up with my A506 from BK Beauty, my foundation brush, or my concealer brush. And I'm using two little I put two little swipes on there. So I'm going to pick some up. Now we're going to do a really good eye prep. So you can just close. I'm going to go a few shades lighter than her skin tone. And keep in mind, we're going to look at her chest as well because her face is a little bit lighter than her chest. So, but we want this to be lighter than her skin tone so that the colors of the eyeshadow that we're going to use are really going to pop. So I'm putting this underneath her eyebrows, right into the tear duct, on that lash line, and all the way up. So you can see how bright that is. Tilt down a little, and then kind of right into that tear duct as well. So make sure that you are getting a good amount of prep on the top of the eye. Very light little taps all the way across so that it's not like a sheer skin prep. It's a really good, strong skin prep. It's going to keep her eyeshadow on for the day because she is a bride. We want to make sure that it's staying on. It's nice and bright. So make sure you're not pushing too hard on this. So it's going right up underneath the brow bone, right into the tear duct, and then all the way across. And then just her eyebrows are a little fluffier, so just be careful not to get it too much in her brows. And then just right in here, right up underneath and on the lash line. So you can see that's a pretty strong eye prep. That's what we want. So now I'm going to set this. I'm going to use the Huda translucent powder. This is in the shade Sugar Cookie. And this is the 202 brush from VK. So I'm going to tap into that. And then I am going to push this right into her skin. So we're going to make sure we're setting this really well because it is a pretty strong eye prep. We don't want it to crease. So we're really tapping this all the way across, right into that tear duct as well. And it's also going to help for the eyeshadow to be blended because if it's not set enough, the concealer is really going to grip onto that eyeshadow. And we want to make sure that this is really nice and soft and blended. I'm just going all the way across like that. So I am going to be using the Soft Glam 2 palette from Anastasia. And it's the little one. And the reason that I picked this up is because there was this shade, which I don't think is in the regular one. It's called Ines, right there. So nice crease color. So I'm going to put that into her crease. And I love a little palette. I'm just going to pick up a nice fluffy brush. So I'm going to pick this up. I love on redheads a warm toned eye. So chin down a little. I'm going to start right into her crease. So having this eyeshadow almost the same color, not orange, but in around like a warm brown is so pretty on redheads. If I was going to choose anything, these are the shades that I would use on a redhead. Sometimes they do want pinks or purples or more of a mauvey eye, but I don't know. I just love how these two are really cohesive together. So I'm going into her crease, which is right here, and I'm going all the way across, from this inner corner out towards her temple. And these eyeshadows are very buttery, so I just pick up a little bit. You don't need a ton. They're very, they pick up a lot of color. You can see here how much color we have. So I just picked up a little bit, and then I'm just going to blend it all the way across, just like that. And then out towards, all the way out towards the temple like that. So almost up into her eyebrow. And when I'm blending, I'm really blending softly. So I'm not being aggressive. You can kind of look ahead. So you see how that's kind of shaping her eye. And when she opens, you can see that color, which is really pretty. So I'm just tapping in a little, going right into that crease and going back and forth. So don't be too aggressive with this eyeshadow because if you do, it can skip over and it's really annoying when the crease all of a sudden is just not looking great. And it has little patches in it and it's really hard to fix that. Almost feels like you need to start over. So I'm gonna be really gentle with this and kind of up underneath her eyebrow as well. And all the way across and then out towards that temple. I am putting a little bit in this outer corner as well. We're going to put a little smokiness color in there as well, but for now we're just put this. So that's kind of her, kind of chin down a bit and then just look ahead. So you see it kind of starts here and then goes all the way to the inner corner. Now the other color in here that I really like is Dreamer. So I'm going to pick up my 239 brush from MAC, and I'm going to pick up Dreamer. This is a nice kind of flat, stiff brush. So I'm going to pick this color up. This is like almost like a champagne color. And I'm going to put this right on the top of her lid. So just turn it this way a bit. And this is going kind of where the crease starts and then all the way over. Now, if I don't get enough pigment from my brush, I will just pick up my finger and take it and just tap it on top. I find usually the finger will work better for picking up pigment and putting it on the top of the eye than a brush, but sometimes I try with the brush first. So you can see it's just a really nice, light, kind of shimmery color. So I'm going to pick it up for the other side. Also, she has green eyes, so champagne honestly looks good on everyone. So if you wanted to do just a natural makeup look, you could just use these two colors and stop here and put on the lashes, and you'd kind of be good to go from here. So I'm tapping that all the way across. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add just a little bit more warmth to the inner corner, or like to the crease kind of area. This is Island Ting. And I'm going to take the A506 brush from BK. I'm just going to add a little bit more warmth just to this outer corner here and then into the crease a bit. So I'm kind of going over top of what I already have and just kind of putting it a little bit higher and just in that outer corner. I can turn this way a bit. Again, like warm browns are just so pretty on red hair. And we're not going to get too dark. That's one of the things that I find will make things look kind of overdone when you do a really dark eye. We're going to stick to kind of light browns. I'm going to put just a little bit of smokiness in the outer corner because we are going a little bit glam. So this one is the Makeup by Mario. This is the cool tone one. I do have both of these. So I'm going to pick up this color. It's like a nice medium brown with the same brush. And I'm going to put this just on the outer 1/4. So I'm picking up just a little bit. And this is just staying in that outer 1/4. I'm just going to turn it this way. So it's giving just a little bit of smokiness. And I'm going to bring it out this way towards her temple. And we can kind of amp this up too once we get the lashes on. I'm just putting a little bit of a base down for right now. So kind of out this way. It's going to give a really nice shape to the eyes. So we wouldn't go in with like a black or dark chocolate brown. We're sticking to more of kind of like a medium tone. Let's turn this way a bit. Because we don't want to overwhelm her features. They're just really soft and delicate, but we still can have a glam look. So do you see how that's adding a bit of smokiness here? And we are working, get a little lash here, just on this outer corner. So don't feel like you need to stop the eyeshadow right here. You can really still bring it all the way out towards that temple. So kind of like that. Now I'm going to add the base for the eyelashes. I'm going to use a chocolate brown. This is, let's see, Limitless Brown from Makeup Forever. I have a bunch of these and I love them. So I'm going to keep this really nice and small. I'm going to lift up a bit. And I'm just going to go back and forth on that lash line as small as I can. Just turn this way a bit. I don't want to get this too big because it's going to take over her whole eye. And also using more of like a liquid black eyeliner is also going to overwhelm her. So I'm using just a chocolate brown all the way across because we do want to keep things still somewhat soft. So that's kind of the first thing that I'm going to do before the eyelashes. I am going to use the Demi Wispies. I always have these in my kit because they look good on everyone. They can even be a little bit more glam, I would say, but they're great for a glam or a natural glam look. I wouldn't use these on anyone that has wants more natural or like a really natural look. So these are also really nice and short. So I usually don't have to trim them, but I'll just double check. Turn this way a bit. Yeah, I think we're good. So I'm going to use the House of Lashes glue, which is my favorite. It's got a little paintbrush. So I'm gonna put this all the way across, just like this. I always put a little bit on each end just in case if something lifts, it's gonna be probably the inner corner. So always make sure there's a lot there. And then I'm gonna get my client to close. I'm gonna tell them to stay closed until things are dry. And I'm just gonna take this and drop it right on that dark lash line that we already had. So that's why we put the brown first, and then we drop the lashes right over top. And I'm trying to snuggle these as close to her lash line as possible. So we wanna make sure there's no gap and it's going right down. I'm even kind of pinching her lashes to bring them as close to that lash line as I possibly can. And I am leaving a little gap. So right in the beginning, it doesn't go right into the tear duct because it really gets uncomfortable for your clients and just doesn't look the same because no one has really long lashes right into their tear duct. So it can feel weird and it's also doesn't look the same. So make sure you're giving a couple millimeters away from the lash line. So now I'm gonna drop this one on there. Now for efficiency, I'm gonna mix up her foundation and her concealer while these dry. So I'm just wiggling these up. I like to be really efficient at weddings because it can be all of a sudden really crazy. So I wanna make sure, if anything, I'm ahead of schedule instead of running behind. So I like to make sure that I've got everything going. Now I'm gonna use a pigment on the top of her eye. I'm gonna put this into the text. I ordered this, I'm pretty sure she lives in Dubai. She's amazing, an amazing makeup artist. And she also has some really beautiful makeup that I thought was really unique. So I am going to put, it's like kind of like a champagne-y gold pigment. I'm gonna put this on the top of her eye to really make them sparkle. I love pigments. Even sometimes if I'm in a rush at a wedding, if I just take, do the crease, put a pigment on top of the eye. If a bridesmaid wants a little bit more of a glamorous look, then it works really well. So I'm actually gonna pick this up with my finger. You can see how pretty that is. Then you can turn this way. And I'm gonna tap this all the way across. See how that really lights up her eye? And just almost up into the crease, all the way across. Not into that darker, smokier area, but just, it's sheer. It's not like a lot of coverage on the eyeshadow. So it just sits over top of what we already have. You see what a difference that makes from I have it here and then I don't have it here. So if you feel like your client would love like a really nice shimmer on the top, there's lots of different shimmers you can get. But I actually find like a really nice pigment isn't the easiest thing to find. So that's why when I saw these, like MAC used to have them, but a lot of them are usually sold out. So I used to use one from MAC called Tan, and I don't even think they make it anymore. It was such a pretty color. So when I saw these, I had to get them. So you see how much more glam that makes her eye look. So now I'm going to mix up her foundation. So I'm going to use, let's see here. Okay, I'm going to use the IT Cosmetics CC cream because it's one of my favorites. So remember, she does have more of a tan on her chest. So we want to make sure that we're matching that up. So I'm going to mix the shade medium. And I'm just going to go in with that one actually and just see how it looks. So I've got that one on my palette. And then I'm also going to go in with her concealer. I'm going to use the Born This Way. The Too Faced Born This Way is like I'd say my go-to. I'm going to use Swan. It's one of my favorite colors. Really nice and bright. I want to keep the under eyes really nice and bright. So I'm going to go in with some of that eyeshadow, the chocolate brown, from the Makeup by Mario palette. And I'm going to go right over top of this band so that you cannot see the band. So I'm picking that up and just going right on top of the band. So not above the band. I really want to make sure that I'm stamping this actually on the band of the lashes. And then just all the way across. Keeping this as small as I possibly can, because again, I don't want it to take over her whole eye. And I'll just give her a tiny little wing, just a little extension with that eyeshadow. And just all the way out. Very small. Unless my client asks for it. I do a little tiny one, and then if they ask for it, I'll do something bigger, but you can see here that it's just like a little tiny baby one, a couple millimeters, just like that. So it kind of comes out to here. So I'm just laying my brush down and then gliding it across. And then turn this way. I'm just going right in, and I'll try and tuck some of this right into that tear duct as well. So now I'm taking some more, get makeup everywhere. And then kind of pull chin down a little, yeah. And then just tapping that right over top. If I need to, I'll lift up with my finger a bit. If I need to really access that lash line. So right on top, and then just that little, just a little baby wing, I call it, just to give a little something. So now I'm gonna go over top with some, just with my, like a clean brush, to make sure that there's no extra eyeshadow on her lash line. So I'm just kind of dusting it. And now I'm gonna stay with her, and you can open and look up to the ceiling. So sometimes they are a little bit glued together. So I'll give her time to open, and you can look kind of straight ahead. Now I'm gonna clean up underneath the eyes, because obviously with more of a glam look, I usually make a mess. I'm gonna take some Q-tips. I'm gonna use just my this little guy's from Sephora, so it's great for traveling. I'm just gonna mix it up, little makeup remover. I'm just gonna dip in. So it's nice to have something that's like an oil-based makeup remover. So it's just gonna take this off really easily. I'm gonna get rid of all that darkness that I've left. And then in this outer corner, I am going to pull this up towards her temple. So all the way up, just like that. And then getting rid of any of that oil underneath, because we don't want that to mix with our concealer. Just like that. Then turn this way a bit, look up. And then a little bit underneath the eye, and then again pulling this up towards the temple. And then we're going to add some mascara over top of her lashes and the false lashes. Then you come straight ahead. Just like that. Sometimes if I feel like there's still a lot of oil, I'll just take my finger and make sure that it's all gone. So for mascara, I always use the Maybelline Colossal in black, waterproof. Again, this is a product that I buy on Amazon. I'll buy a bunch of them. Just keep them in my studio so that during wedding season, because you never really know when they're gonna all of a sudden be gone. Like I'm putting my mascara wand in, and then all of a sudden there's no more mascara. So I usually keep a few in my kit and then some in my studio, so I'm never without. So I'm making sure that I'm going right from the lash line and wiggling all the way up, and really making sure that these are one little unit. So sometimes I'll pinch just at that outer edge or wherever it needs to, and getting lashes on her lashes, her natural lashes, and the false lashes. It's gonna make them look more real if there's some mascara on them. And then trying to blend those in with her lashes. So I do take a minute, and then you can look that way. I do try and get some of these little lashes on the inner corner, because we do start it back a couple millimeters. It's nice to have some of those kind of picked up so that there's not all of a sudden nothing and then a full strip of lash. And then I'm going right in. Sometimes I'll even lift up and then wiggle. Now, if her lashes weren't as curly, I would curl the lashes after the mascara, and that will kind of bring them into a little unit, but you can look that way. So just getting a few of these. and then right at me, just making sure that they look really good. So sometimes it's just kind of touching them or bringing them together to make them kind of look a little bit more natural. Just like that. Okay, so now let's try this medium foundation on her from It Cosmetics. And I'm going to use my 115, actually. This is the 109. So these are kind of like different versions of the 101. 109 is the smallest one. 115 is like a baby, like a middle child of the 101. I've been loving this one though, because I do find the 101, which is right here, it's big, you know? So I find the 115 a little bit better to like work in all the creases and stuff, because this is just really large, which I love the 101, but as I've been using the 115, that's the one I've been picking up lately. So I'm going to take that It Cosmetics, then you can turn to the side. So I usually will start right here and just kind of swipe it and make sure it's the right color. So let's kind of blend it out with the 115. Bring it down the neck a little. And just make sure that it's disappearing into the neck. Not necessarily on the face, because again, it is going to be darker on the face for her. But when you turn, like, you can't see a difference between her neck and the actual foundation. And I use a good amount of foundation. When I'm pumping, sometimes it's like 10 pumps. I use a lot. So I kind of slather it on. You can turn this way. And I'm also going to make sure that I'm checking her ears. I've made that mistake before of not looking at a spray tan, like a girl that has a spray tan, and then their ears are really white. Not cute. Or their part. You can turn this way. I'm like, oh, and I noticed that my part of my hair up here can get really white, especially if I'm actually in the sun, because I usually have a hat on. So I need to make sure and check that when they put their head down that it's not a little white strip. So because we're doing more full coverage, I'm going to start tapping this, and I'm pushing it into her skin. So the lighter I am with my taps and my movements, the more full coverage this is going to be. I can actually turn that way a bit. So if I was pushing and going really hard, you're going to get a lighter application. And when you're tapping this into the skin, you're going to get more full coverage. So you could take the same foundation and kind of do the different swipes, and you can get two different looks. So I could make this look like a more lighter foundation if I wanted to. I would just use less and then do those more aggressive swipes. So like I do use the It Cosmetics sometimes on moms. It's actually a really beautiful foundation for mature skin as well. But I'm just using less and using more pressure. So I'm kind of blending this all down, and then you can turn this way a bit. Right up into that hairline. Same with over here. I'm really making sure that I'm pulling it back and that everything is blending. I usually go over top of the lips a little bit, but I'm leaving the under eyes bare. That's just going to be for her concealer. We want the least amount of products underneath the eyes, because if we get too much underneath there, you're going to obviously could get more creasing. And she has just perfect skin, so she doesn't need anything. So it makes my life very easy. So just like that, I'm going to put a little bit more on my palette, and I'm just going to tap it down this side of her face and make sure that I'm going to have a little bit to put on her ear. So I'm going to move this ear out of the way, or this hair, and just expose, and then tap it in around here as well. And if she was wearing her hair up, I would check all up in behind her neck as well. You don't want that to be white. Especially with spray tans, a lot of times you won't get that in around the neck, or it'll fade over time, because she could have gotten a spray tan a couple days ago. So her face is going to be a lot lighter than her actual body. So again, I'm just going all around, and this is sometimes what takes me the most time, is just blending out this foundation and making sure that it's really nice. Just kind of stippling over top. Now, if your brush didn't have even bristles, you're going to get those little lines. So that's why I'm saying these brushes, the 115, 109, and 101 are kind of do the work for you, which is nice. So now I'm going to go in with her concealer again. That's Swan color. And chin down a little, and then you can look up to the ceiling. So I'm just going to tap some of this underneath her eyes. This is a little bit brighter than her actual skin and the foundation that we used. Just right here. I want to make the center of her face a little bit bright. So that's why I am using that lighter color. I'm just kind of tapping it all the way across. Now I'm going to use the A506 to blend this out, but I'm also using my 115. So I'm going to tap really lightly a little bit down the side of her nose, and all the way up, right up underneath that lash line. And I'm tapping really lightly, remember, because we do want that full coverage. If you're pushing too hard, you're just not going to get that flawless, I mean, it'll look good, but it's just going to be a lighter application. So for my moms, I'm pushing harder, but I'm kind of just tapping. Then I'm going to take my brush and go, again, really nice and light over top and pushing it into the skin. Same within here. We want to keep that good amount of coverage. So we're just tapping it into the skin. Right down the middle. And you can turn this way, can look up. I think a lot of times people just aren't using enough makeup. That's why I'd rather use a little bit more, take it off with my brush if I need to, but I'd rather start with a little bit more and blend it out, and then if I need to just remove a little bit, I can pick it up with the brush. But you don't want to start with a little, and then it can make the skin a little bit dry when you're trying to blend it out and get that good amount of coverage. And kind of back that way a bit so you can see how beautiful her under eyes look with that concealer. And then in around her nose and just kind of tapping it around. Now I'm going to set it. So back into that Huda Beauty. And she doesn't have lines underneath her eyes, so we can really do anything we want underneath her eyes. We can use the full coverage concealer. So I'm just tapping that and pushing it really into the skin. I'm using a good amount of this translucent powder so it really sets. On your clients that have fine lines and more mature skin, just be very careful. I tend to use lighter concealers for their under eyes instead of something really full coverage. So it's a slippery slope. You can't really do the full glam under the eyes for more mature, depending on their under eyes. I'd say most of the time. We don't want that crepey under eye on our clients. So chin down a little bit. But then also at the same time, there's nothing you can really do about creasing. That's going to happen, can happen even on your younger clients. So just kind of tapping this all the way across and really pushing that into the skin, right? So we want to really set this area. And we're not bringing it down too low, we're just setting her under eyes. Oops, sorry. And then you can look straight ahead. So now we can work on the under eye area. I'm gonna do kind of like a bronzy color underneath her eyes. Let's see, I'm going to use this. This is really pretty. So this is the 204 from BK Beauty, which I love. It's just a tiny little mini brush, which is great. And then this is the Hourglass palette. I'm going to use this on her skin as well, but I'm going to tap into these two colors with my brush and put this underneath her eye, which looks so nice, like a bronzy eye on the top, and then bronzy underneath looks really nice on redheads, green eyes. The bronzy colors on green eyes are really beautiful. So just make sure at the end here, you're really connecting it to the top. You can see what a difference that makes, how much more glam it looks with a color, more eyeshadow underneath. And I'm just tapping really lightly and brushing it all the way across into that inner corner, just like that. So pretty. And then all the way up. I mean, you could take this palette and just put it on the top and the bottom with some lashes, and your client it would look like you spent a lot of time on their makeup, but you could also just use one color. It's still gonna look really pretty. Just like that, all the way across. Just tapping it a little bit at a time. We don't wanna get too much dust underneath the eye, because we've just cleaned that up and put the concealer there. And then I'm gonna put some mascara on her lower lashes as well. So you can look up. So I'm just taking it vertically and then brushing all the way across. Just making sure that I'm careful that I don't get this on her concealer. You can turn this way and then look up. So pretty. Her lashes, if they're too long, they can look a little spidery, so just be careful. Hers are like the perfect length. Just straight on like that. So that's kind of the eye look. Now I'm going to take the shade Medium from Charlotte Tilbury and my 93 brush from Sephora. This is what this one looks like. It's on a little bit of an angle. And then the Charlotte Tilbury. I'm just going to tap in a bit. And this is going to go, turn that way a bit, about midway down the face up towards the top of the ear. So we are stamping this on. So I haven't set this area. I'm going right onto the actual foundation and we're pushing this into the skin. So just kind of tapping it all the way in. Once I hit her skin, I'm kind of pushing it a little bit. So you don't want to go back and forth and brush it. You do want to dust it onto the skin like this. So you don't want to disturb that foundation that we just worked so hard on. If you start scrubbing, you can actually lift that foundation up. We do not want that. I'm going to put a little bit on her jawline and around her ear. Just on the jawline there. I'm not going to do like a full jaw contour because it can, again, these kind of things do not look necessarily good in person compared to online. So you see, a lot of our clients see things online and say, oh, I want that. And it's like, well, you're going to be seen in person, so be careful. So I'm going from her top of her brow over here to the other brow. Up is going to be all bronzer. So right up into that hairline. It's also better for blending when you're just doing these tiny little tap motions. I'll just turn this way a bit. So right up into that hairline. So I'm kind of leaving this area nice and bright. And she's looking so, like her skin's already glowing, looking angelic. I always want my clients to look angelic instead of, I don't know, instead of harsh. I just want my clients to look so, a little angel. Like that. So about midway down the face, up towards the top of the ear. So we're kind of going to move that out, tap in a little bit, and then go up towards the top of the ear. Because I like when she's sideways, for especially if they're at the, when they're at the altar, for everything to be going in an upward direction. So just really stamping that on. So down here. And then we are going to use this color to nose contour, or contour her nose. Just like that as well. And then right up into that hairline. I'll cut it straight on. You can see how pretty that looks. Now I'm going to use a little bit of the Give Me Sun. It's one of my favorites. It's from MAC, and I always have it in my kit because it's such a beautiful bronzer. Now where can I put it? This is the problem. I am going to use a skin perfector as well. This one's from Makeup by Mario. It's absolutely beautiful. Oh, okay, I'm going to take Island Ting a little bit just to warm up her skin a bit. You can see it's got more of a bronzy color. So I'm going to go kind of right over top of that bronzer. Because it is a spray tan, I do want it to be nice and bright. So kind of just over top of the bronzer that I just did, just going in with a little bit more of a golden color. Just turn this way. And don't be afraid to get a little bit of this bronzer on the cheek because it does look really pretty on the cheek as well. I mean, you could literally just take bronzer and use it as a blush as well. And see how nice and warm that is. Just like that. But I am going to use the Charlotte Tilbury to contour her nose. And I'm going to use nose contour brush from Patrick Ta. This is really nice because it does have that fan and then the fluffy side. So I'm going to pick up the fan first. And attaching this to her eyeshadow, I'm going to start stamping this down her nose. So it's coming from the eye and going down. So it's not like you're just starting here. You're going right into that eyeshadow, kind of attaching it like that on each side. It's going to kind of pinch the top here and make this look really tiny, and it's a really pretty look. You'll start noticing it on celebrities. That's something that they always do. Just right in here and right in here. And kind of bringing it nice and close together. J-Lo does it all the time, and you won't notice it until you do, like, go and look. A little bit at the end of the nose, and then down each side. So we've basically got an extension from here all the way down, which is really, really pretty, and it just kind of gives a more natural look rather than it just starting out of nowhere. A little bit at the end. Now we're going to blend, so I'm going to pick up just a little bit and then add a little bit of pressure to the product and just kind of tap it out. Because again, we don't want this to be unnatural because she's being seen in person. So we're just kind of tapping and kind of putting it into the underneath the brow bone and at the end of the nose. So you see how we brought these lines pretty close together, a little bit on the end, and it's coming right from here all the way down. So it doesn't just start out of nowhere. And taking a little bit right at the top to kind of pinch those together, and it'll make a nice line down the front of her nose. Okay, now for blush, I am going to use, let's see here. This one is Sublime Flush from Hourglass, which is one of my favorites. And then this is the 96 brush. So it's a nice bright peachy color. Again, we wouldn't want to get anything plum or dark on her. We want everything to be really nice and bright. I can just turn this way again. So we're taking this on the apple of the cheek and putting it up towards her temple. And we're doing those same motions, that tapping into the skin. Anything that's too dark, like those plummy colors, even like a really dark kind of brownish blush will be a little bit too much for her. We want her to look bright and open, and it's going all the way up this way. And even a little bit underneath her eye there. I'm kind of tapping it in. Now don't feel like the contour and because I did use bronzer to contour, the contour and the blush don't need to be two separate units. You can go over top and make them into like a little unit together. And then right up into that hairline. So you can see how nice and bright that is, and it's nice and subtle. You can turn this way, chin down a bit, and then again tapping. And again, even those bright baby doll colors, you can do that, but if you want this to look really natural, I would say stick to a light peachy color. It could be too much for their delicate features. So right on that apple and all the way up. You can see how pretty that is. Now I'm going to take that Patrick Ta brush again, and I'm going to dip it into my blush, and I'm just going to make sure that there's a little bit underneath her eye here, because I don't want the concealer to be a ring and then the blush to be a ring. This little area here, you can just go in and blend that out again so that it doesn't look unnatural. So I do tend to just tap over top, and I am pushing. I'm not just tapping lightly. I'm pushing it really into the skin. So even a little bit underneath all the way, and then making sure that it's right up onto that temple, like that. So now let's give her face a little set with that Huda Beauty powder. And I'm going to use my powder brush. There it is. I'm losing things. This is the N17 from BK. Anything similar to this shape. Then I'm going to pick this up and just kind of tap it into her T-zone. So we don't need to set the blush and the bronzer because they're already powder. So we don't necessarily need that. And I do use powder because I find it more long wearing compared to creams. I like to use creams on myself, but on a client, I really want to make sure that their makeup is lasting all day. So it makes me a little nervous. And you can just turn this way. So I want things locked in place. Still their skin and everything to look beautiful. So using more sheer blushes that aren't really pigmented, you're kind of building them up. it's going to be the best for your brides. Because brides are just, it's a whole different kind of situation. So in around that T-zone, and then I am putting a little bit underneath that contour, and then buffing it right into the skin and pushing it in. So you can see now her whole T-zone is nice and matte, and we're going to add some of that glow back in, but we don't want it to be everywhere. So in around the nose, I find, and the forehead, well, everywhere really, just like that. Now I'm going to take that glow enhancer like I was talking about. I'm going to take it in the shade, I think this, yeah, that one's medium. So I'm going to take this Makeup by Mario brush, and this is Makeup by Mario as well. So they're kind of shimmery colors, and it's supposed to just make your skin look amazing, which I find it does. So I'm kind of dusting it over top of where I put the bronzer and the blush. It's going to go, you can just turn that way. So you see how it's made her skin kind of light up right there? A little bit up here. Whenever I wear this on myself, I get lots of compliments. So we want your skin to look as radiant as possible, just kind of like that. So it's a very soft highlighter. And then just turn this way. And see how it's just lighting up the skin. It doesn't even look like highlighter, it just looks like her skin, but better. A little bit on the nose. So it's not distributing a lot of color, but it's giving enough that it just makes her skin look amazing. Now I'm going to take Cookie again, and I'm going to put this as her highlighter. So I'm going to keep the same brush, and this is going to go right on the top of her cheekbone. So you turn that way a bit, actually. So this is really going to light up her cheek right there. And I like to bring some right onto the apple of the cheek there. You can see when she smiles as a bride, it's really, yeah, it's really going to light up. So pretty. So she's going to look really nice and healthy and happy. Then just turn this way. And then same with here. So I'm just going right on the top of that cheekbone and kind of wrapping it from underneath her brow bone as well. And then straight on, I'm going to go right in with my finger, and I'm going to put some right on the tip of her nose, and then down the bridge of her nose. And I can just blend that out a little bit with that brush. I'm going to put some right on her Cupid's bow, right here. And I do like to take this usually and put it on the chest a little bit, instead of using one that has like one that's a little bit more on the liquid side can transfer. So I usually just take my Cookie and just use it like that. Now I want to put some on. I'm going to use actually the Half Magic. I've been using this a lot. It's Champagne Snowflake right here. So let's turn you this way. Yep, you can look up. So I'm going to put this right into her tear duct. You can see how much that is like a little beam of light right here, and then a little bit underneath her eye as well. So right in here, and then you can turn that way a bit. See how it just really lights up that inner corner, and then underneath, right into the tear duct there. I'm going to turn that way. See when the light hits it, you can see it. I'm going to put a little bit underneath her brow bone, like that. And sometimes I do use this kind of on the nose and down this strip of the nose, or you can even use this on the lips as well. It's really pigmented. I haven't tried any of the other colors, but this one, and every time I use it, I get lots of messages of what it is because it is such a strong highlighter. It's very pretty. Okay, I am going to use one of the new, actually, I'm going to use, this one is from One Size. It's called Shy But Fly. So I'm going to line her lips with this. And I'm just going to stay right in her lip line, not going too much into the inner corners, just below that lip line actually, right here. She has a nice border that you can really kind of tuck up underneath, and you can see that it's making her lips look bigger, but it's not on her skin. It's just kind of right underneath the actual border of her lip right here. And then same with here, we're just going right. She doesn't have as strong of a border on the top, so you could go a tiny bit onto the skin. So we're not going into this corner here and tucking it. We're kind of starting right here and then going down, because that can look a little bit strange if you get too much in there. So just a really light lip liner. It's giving her a very soft kind of contour, which is really nice. And that's the thing too with redheads, I don't tend to put too much color on them unless they ask. They could do it, but because, I mean, in general, if people have a really strong eye, I'm not going to do much on the lip. It's going to be more of a nude. I don't want things to be competing. So if the eyes are strong, then everything else is going to be really soft. So I'm going to take a little bit. You just have to be careful. You don't get too much on there. This one is Nude Kate from Charlotte Tilbury. A nice kind of just neutral nude. I use this one a ton. So I'm just going to go right over top. And then I'm going to put some lip gloss over. And then just turn this way a bit. I usually don't give my clients, like I'll ask them what they want, but if they're not specific about colors, then I kind of just do my thing. This is one of the, I'm going to use this Charlotte Tilbury gloss. This one is Nudegasm. It's new, so it's a really nice shimmery nude. It's been my new favorite. So I'm going to go right over top with this. Any kind of nudie pink, not too much on the pink side, but really nice nude. So you can see how much that's giving her a glow. We want everything to glow. So just right over top. And then kind of look that way a bit and chin down a bit. And just blending out that lip liner, keeping the lips really, really soft. But it is a color. Just like that. So now I'm going to set her face with the Charlotte Tilbury setting spray. Actually, just stay like that. It looks so pretty. So I'm going to give her a good spray. Spray her chest as well. Just like that. Okay, she's all done. So if you guys have any questions, you can DM me, send me an email, and I can walk you through anything that you're unsure of. And thanks for watching. I'm going to show you.